The US says it has delivered a written response to Russia's security demands amid escalating tensions between Moscow and Ukraine. In the letter, Secretary of State Antony Blinken says they've raised concerns over Russia's military aggression towards Ukraine, but offered a diplomatic solution to avoid a conflict. After talks between Washington and Moscow earlier this month, the Kremlin demanded guarantees that NATO would end its expansion in Eastern Europe. Blinken says diplomacy is the preferred way forward, but that the US will stand ready and beside its European allies, including Ukraine, if Russia launches an invasion.
There should be no doubt about our seriousness of purpose when it comes to diplomacy, and we're acting with equal focus and force to bolster Ukraine's defenses and prepare a swift, united response to further Russian aggression. 3 deliveries of U.S. defensive military assistance arrive in Kyiv this week, carrying additional Javelin missiles and other anti-armor systems. 283 tons of ammunition and non-lethal equipment essential to Ukraine's frontline defenders. More deliveries are expected in the days to come. We provided more defensive security assistance to Ukraine in the past year than in any previous year.
NATO has also sent its own letter to Russia as requested by Moscow. The Security Alliance has called for a re-establishment of diplomatic relations with the Kremlin. This would include opening channels of military communication and having a civilian hotline in case of emergencies. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said he also wants to bring Russia back into the fold for joint security efforts.
As a first step, we are proposing mutual briefings on exercises and nuclear policies in the NATO-Russia Council. We should also modernize the Vienna document on military transparency and work to reduce space and cyber threats. We should consult on ways to prevent incidents in the air and at sea, and recommit to full compliance with international commitments on chemical and biological weapons.
Well, representatives from Russia and Ukraine, along with French and German officials, have held talks in Paris to try and avert conflict. The meeting is implementing the so-called Normandy format that's previously been used to restore relations between Ukraine and Russia after the annexation of Crimea in 2014. France has called for more dialogue. President Macron is due to speak to President Putin by phone on Friday. Russia denies any plans for military aggression towards Ukraine, despite a massive troop build-up along the country's border. Well, on the ground for us tonight in Kiev is our international correspondent, Annalise Borges. We can speak to her now. Great to see you there, Annalise, on the ground. To begin with, we know now that the US has provided that written response to Russia, emphasising that they're still very much open to the dialogue, but at the same time going through a long list of arms being sent to the region to support Ukraine. So what should we take from that?
Oh, that's been the U.S.'s position for a while now, right? To insist that diplomacy is the preferred path forward, all the while preparing for a different outcome. Antony Blinken once again today insisting that they are ready to show support towards Ukraine and uphold certain values such as territorial integrity and sovereignty, all the while, of course, listing that long list of weapons that they are going to be delivering and highlighting the fact that they have already provided a very important military support to Ukraine over the last year. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not there will be a response from Moscow. Of course, the position from Russia has been for a while now to say that the United States and NATO allies are the one escalating things, are the one putting flames in the fire, if you will, by precisely sending these extra military support to this country. Of course, here on the ground, the situation is much more real for people who live in Ukraine, especially those who live in the east of the country, those territories that have been, of course, under a lot of pressure since that separatist movement took control in the east and since the invasion of Crimea. Here in Kiev, in the capital, people are going about their business. They've been telling me that they have been living with this threat for a while now. These troops have amassed in the border since May last year.